time was running out. Was he as inviting as many other wrestlers that was that weekend? Would I love to meet Bron Breakker again as a person? What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone, and I'm a licensed psychologist. Before I was a licensed psychologist, I was blessed to interview and to be a journalist in several publications, big major publications, including Sports Illustrated and Fox Sports and Bleacher Report, among several others. And in that time, I was actually blessed to interview hundreds of people. I've had over 500 interviews, and I was able to meet so many people along the way and still have actually close connections and close relationships with a large number of those people as well. But generally, I was able to meet, talk to people off the camera. And like I said before, to me, the truthfulness of someone is how they are off the camera. So the times I've talked to them before and after, the type of off-camera experiences. So I, as a journalist, I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to share off-camera experiences with you from my point of view. So one of those times I was able to be a part of a media scrum featuring Bron Breakker. So in this time, there was a lot of people who were interviewed, and there were a lot of lines. I've explained this to you before as far as just how the media that were approved and credentialed by WWE to be in this room. And there were a lot of people who were in the room, and they were trying to, it was about 4 hours actually, as far as just the length of time that people have access to be in this room to interview different wrestlers. And toward the end, they were closing up, and they were able to throw in Bron Breakker, and Bron Breakker came in, but they were about to close up. So Bron Breakker was actually one of people who were being interviewed, but at the same time, by the time he came in, by the time the media were available, there were people who were wanting to still interview Bron Breakker, but time was running out. So a bunch of people who haven't interviewed Bron Breakker yet, they just, the PR and communications team, they said, okay, well, just all the media who haven't interviewed Bron Breakker yet, just come to this area here. We'll have him take a seat, and we'll turn this from individual interviews to more of a presser. And so I was actually able to be a part of the presser and mostly interact, just kind of observe Bron Breakker's just demeanor and disposition more than interact with him. When I was able to do individual interviews, I was able to interact with the wrestlers both before and after the interviews. But with Bron Breakker, it was more of just interacting with him mostly after the interview, because by the time they had all the media come in, they announced it, he was already seated and ready to take questions from the media audience. And so I was a part of that media audience that was able to experience Bron Breakker and give my input as well. So I was able to observe Bron Breakker toward the end of the presser, and it wasn't too much to observe, actually. It wasn't like very impressive, but it wasn't negative either. But he just kind of got up and just thanked everybody. I mean, he was nice. He was definitely a nice person. He got up, but he was those people, when it comes to being in that space and having to be there for several hours, taking interview after interview, it's definitely a tiring job. It's definitely a tiring place to be for sure. But, in all fairness, they signed up for that. So at the same time, you can't have really sympathy for them, especially the money that they're making. But at the same time, you also have to think, yeah, they're tired, and they've been doing media stuff throughout the entire weekend, and all different types. They have to go from place to place to place, and so does media people too. But of course, they got matches for the weekend, and they got the jitters when it comes to being on the big stage. So there's a lot of factors that come into that. But at the same time, it is important for these people to maintain professionalism. I think overall, Bron Breakker maintained his professionalism. Was he as inviting as many other wrestlers that was that weekend? No, not necessarily. But at the same time, you do have to realize that, yeah, I mean, it was several hours that he was able to open up his time, and I'm sure that it was pretty taxing after a while, especially taking several questions from the media toward the end after taking many interviews. Again, doesn't necessarily justify someone's natural personality. The natural personality of Bron Breakker didn't seem like it's a very warm personality per se, and that is different than what I observed before with other wrestlers. Would I count as negative? No, I wouldn't consider it negative, but not as warm. And so that was my personality. Would I interview Bron Breakker individually? Absolutely. Would I love to meet Bron Breakker again as a person? Absolutely. I was not drawn back from Bron Breakker whatsoever. So I don't really have necessary grade because I didn't sit down individually with Bron Breakker. I just was able to observe just him as a person, and the media just kind of scattered away and he just kind of got up. So I really didn't get a chance per se to interact with him the way that I interacted with other people. So I'm not going to give him a grade out of fairness because I didn't have that individual one-on-one observation with him personally. So overall, the experience with Bron Breakker was really as expected. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to be just warm and bubbly type of person. And also, again, I didn't have necessarily one-on-one. I was a part of the presser. I was right in front of him in the media. I will say that he was very respectable as far as just thanking everybody as he was getting up. So that is definitely the positive experience that I had with Bron Breakker. And I can't say that I had a negative experience with Bron Breakker either. So just compared to like the warm and friendliness with everybody else, yes, that was different. But again, it wasn't a negative experience that I had with him. So overall, positive experience when it comes to Bron Breakker's professionalism. Didn't by any stretch put a negative taste in my mouth as far as perception. So that's my experience with Bron Breakker overall. And interestingly enough, when it comes to these media interviews, there's a very intricate process that media people and media platforms have to go through when they're credentialed by WWE. I actually was a part of that credentialing in that process, and I explained that in this video on the screen.